Hello everyone, and welcome to the 26th episode of the Little Thespian Podcast. On today's episode, we talk to the incredibly talented, gifted actor, singer, dancer, and all-around lovely human being, Robyn Ellison. So without further ado, let's hop into episode 26 of the Little Thespian Podcast. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 26th episode of the Little Thespian Podcast. On today's episode, we have a very talented actor, singer, dancer, and all-around lovely human being, Robyn Ellison. So how are you, Robyn, during this time?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I guess as good as can be, as we're still in lockdown. And we still have a curfew, guys. Our curfew here in Montreal is about to happen in just under an hour. Guys, unfortunately, COVID's still a thing. And unfortunately, I still need to tell you guys what to do in this pandemic. In other words, wash your hands, social distance, wear a mask. Unfortunately, still people aren't doing that because we're still dealing with this. And we still have crowds gathering. I don't get what the thing is, guys. But anyway, whole other can of worms. Also tomorrow is Bella's Talk Day. And guys, mental health has really been a thing that a lot of people have been struggling with so much during this time. And it makes sense. A lot of people are not used to kind of staying indoors and just being isolated. But there's a reason why I wore this shirt today, guys. You guys got to keep your hope up and know that there is a bright light coming very, very soon. So the vaccine is here, guys, and we need to get into arms, and hopefully we could have some form of normality very, very soon. If you guys want some more lighthearted stuff, the podcast is always something to shine bright with. So do your thing and check out the entire playlist. It's almost 20 hours long of content, guys, now. You almost have a full day of content to hopefully cheer you guys up during this time. But let's hop into episode 26. Robyn, I want to ask you, how exactly did you get into theater?
A little bit by accident, honestly. I originally wasn't much of a theater person. I had started high school, 7th grade, obviously. And I was just doing set design and costume design because my art teacher at the time, Josie Arcabelli, I'm going to name drop her. She was the one who was directing and putting on all the shows at Riverdale, which no longer exists. And so eventually I just kind of continued with that for a few years, and come 9th grade, we were doing In the Heights, and they just needed someone to be on stage for like a second to pour a shot and then walk off stage. And I was like, I can do it. I'm in stage blacks. It's basically bar clothes. So yeah, I did that. And man, I fell in love with it. It's a different feeling, being on stage than being behind it. And I wasn't even going to audition for theater in CEGEP. I was going to end it at high school and go on to be a hairdresser. And my director, as I said, Josie Arcabelli, she was like, just do the audition, it can't hurt. Just try. And well, here we are 6 years later, and I'm about to graduate the John Abbott Professional Theater program.
So. That's so inspiring too. I wanted to also have you on the podcast because you are so inspirational. I mean, we literally were in productions and whatnot, and unfortunately you did something to your leg and you kept going and just enjoying theater so much. You are so inspirational, Robyn, and I'm so glad that we could have you on the podcast, honestly. And 6 years, I mean, that's crazy to kind of get bit by that bug that like so many people just get out of even the smallest amount of theater that's thrusted into their lives. And yeah, so thank you for just being very inspirational to not just me, but I know a lot of people.
It's weird hearing that from some people, because there's like, to me, sometimes I don't even think of it as like I persevered. Sometimes I worry I was just too stubborn to give up. But knowing that like a lot of people can look at like what I went through and go, yeah, that's a good thing to, just keep going no matter what happens to you. It means a lot to me, at least.
Well, I'm glad. And I mean, it's true. I mean, we could kind of look into adversity and kind of say, well, I may have been too stubborn, but look at you now. You're about to graduate very soon in the
So
professional theater program. And like it's crazy to me that like through everything that has happened during these last couple of years or last year, right, with COVID, that we can still kind of shine that bright light that theater is meant to do. You know what I mean? And I'm so glad that you get the chance now to get that deck, because you are definitely worthy of it during these last 6 years. So congrats.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. So I also want to ask, what has been like your favorite thing that you found in the program during this time?
I would honestly have to say just the amount of diverse theater that I've encountered. And it's mainly thanks to Alicia Conway, as you know, our theater history text teacher. She's phenomenal. But when I started the program, as I said, I did musical theater a lot through high school. So Les Mis, Into the Woods, In the Heights, a lot of singing, a lot of dancing. And I didn't really know much outside of that. And, over the last 6 years, I've really come to realize that a lot of the things that I enjoyed about musical theater aren't just restricted to, that genre. Like, I really love, how so I'd say theatrical theater, how like over the top musical theater can be. But part of that also translates into like some more darker things. So like things that are a bit more experimental, and, through finding things like, theater of the absurd or, expressionism, like those are things that now, 6 years ago, me wouldn't have thought of it. But now I love those two specific things.
Honestly, like the amount of stuff, guys, like right now, actually, as we speak, the John Abbott Theater Department is doing their open house. And I mean, guys, the incredible things they do over there. And I'm not just saying that because I graduated from there. They're not paying me. They're not doing any of that. But guys, honestly, Alicia Conway and the entire faculty and staff there, Just do an amazing job. And theater history was my favorite class.
Oh,
It
mine
might
too.
be because of just Alicia and Tracy Lee doing it during my time. But it was also just the amount of like things that you didn't even think were theater are theater, and things that you think are like very far fetched are the most interesting, excuse me, for an artist to see and then to perform hopefully later. And yeah, I mean, talk about musical theater though, and your roots. How was it kind of doing two shows that we're going to talk about during ALC, which were incredible musicals in their own right, and then to have that kind of be on the Casgrain stage. These are Anything Goes and Pippin. So first of all, I'm going to talk about Anything Goes. How was doing such a crazy dance number, crazy dance show, I guess, in Anything Goes, at John Abbott College?
It was super cool. You know, as I said, I did musical theater in high school, and that for me was really interesting because like I was so connected into it. Like I was doing the set design and I was helping with costumes and I was, you know, helping figure out dances and I was a really big part of it. And then to come into John Abbott and do a musical but only focus on, you know, the acting side of it was it was so interesting to be able to focus my energy that way, you know? And I learned so much from working with Jason Howell, who directed it. It was really cool to see what I could do in a more professional setting as opposed to feeling like it was just school in a sense.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, unfortunately, like a lot of people don't get the opportunity to kind of also do a show on the side while doing work or whatnot. But we have the privilege to do that and to kind of escape into these new worlds. And to kind of branch off of that and move on to Pippin, how was doing this incredible number that I still sing along to um, in Pippin with the entire crowd singing with you? Because I still remember doing that because Pippin was such an amazing show and people still talk about it to this day. So how was that?
Bertha, the character I played, um, she's insane. Like, to say the least. Like, when I am, 67, I had to think about that for a second. When I'm 67, I hope I have that much energy because she is a fireball. She bulldozed through people and she knows what she wants and she goes for it. And to get to embody that and like really go, am I allowed to swear on this, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
really go fuck it, and just be like, yeah, okay, I'm 67, but look, I look hot as hell. It was a really interesting uh kind of flip from, I guess, my normal personality. And Pippin itself as like an entire show was just kind of unbelievable. Like, here, I'm gonna tilt my camera up for a second and you'll see that I actually have a piece of the Pippin wagon in my living room. So you can kind of tell how much this show meant to me and honestly everyone in it. Like, my roommate, it was also in the cast, and there are times where we find ourselves singing the songs too, because it was such a positive experience and also a very grounding experience.
And that's the thing too. Like, I find there's always those shows that kind of just stay with you. And
Mhm.
Pippin, I mean, my God, like just fantastical to its fullest, right? And just there's a good message there through all the songs, and No Time at All, which is what Bertha sings. It's a great message to kind of just be like, cherish what you have, and to hear that now is the perfect song for people to be singing, and also for people to just kind of absorb with all these messages and things that we do as artists. It's great to kind of see that it doesn't just stick with the audiences, but it also sticks with us and helps us improve. And it's great to kind of see that that still is a huge part of your life.
Well, No
And
Time at All was actually like Pippin was the first show that I had gotten to do after I had broken my legs. And so it was kind of getting to sing No Time at All, this song about, cherishing what you have, and like, you know, it'll just keep going. Like in just no time at all, you can have what you want. You just have to keep going for it, It was this own sort of like cathartic release of all the feelings that I had had for the months that I was wheelchair bound, to be able to stand on the stage and sing and dance and do everything that I love doing. Like it was so much of its own reward,
I can only imagine that. Honestly, is beautiful. And it must have been so empowering looking back at that now. Like, I was grateful that nothing happened to me during the time I was at Abbott, in regards to physical health. But it's crazy that this passion just kind of encapsulates us so beautifully that we can kind of just go with the flow, if that makes any sense, and to kind of just hope for the best. And I'm glad that you had the opportunity to stand on that stage and do what you love. And it's amazing to me that you can do that. Jeff literally brought on a crutch when he was injured. Like, guys, like if that doesn't show heart, I don't know what does. Like it's incredible. And I'm so glad you had the opportunity to do that during Pippin. So I guess to go off of that, perfect segue. Do you have any words of wisdom for someone who might want to jump into theater?
Honestly, the best way to start is just to start. There are many ways you can go about it. You can do what we've done and go to a school and learn and like practice. You can do things like conservatories, or honestly, you can even just get started. It really depends on, you know, your motivation to do it. If you want to really refine what you know and like grow the knowledge that you have regarding it, then going to a school like Abbott is great. Or not even just Abbott, you can go to Dawson or any school for that matter, because you'll always gain something from it. But I think that it's just as valid to just go out into the world and just start looking, you know?
Lovely put, and I'm not surprised. Her wisdom is incredible. But like it's true. I mean, right now, unfortunately,
their wisdom. Sorry.
Sorry, their wisdom. Sorry. Yes. But that's the thing, guys. We need to kind of just keep our minds at bay during this time and kind of know that stuff's coming up. And if you guys are passionate about doing this, then you guys need to just go and attempt it. What I've been saying on the podcast very often, to kind of just take the leap. What really can hurt you? You're gonna fall on your face, okay? And then Robyn showed it. Guys, you can get back up and be on that stage if that's what you really want to do.
Yeah, and it's always about knowing whether or not your journey is going to be yours, and it's going to be different than everyone else's regardless. I dropped out of the program that I'm about to graduate in twice. And not many people can say that. But honestly, I don't regret dropping out either of those times. I think it was definitely, one of them wasn't entirely voluntary, but the other one was, and I don't regret it. I took the time that I needed in order to be ready to do it. And there's a certain amount of preparation that you have to do as a person before you're ready to just be vulnerable and be ready to be open to the kinds of stories you're going to be telling.
That's the thing. As artists, guys, it's a very vulnerable art that you kind of just need to, again, jump into if you are ready to, because there are a plethora of incredible jobs that you can do when you are an artist, but there's so many different stories that you might not be ready to tell yet. But you will eventually get to that if you are passionate about it and if you are ready for it at that time. And yeah, it's definitely a crazy time to be talking about this too, because right now, at least I'm in the headspace to kind of take whatever's given to me because of COVID. But I know a lot of people that are going to be diving into theater once stuff is coming back, and be diving into film in whatever way they can during this time, because stuff is still happening. But to kind of just dive into something, hopefully after this crazy time, which is what I'm going to kind of talk about next. So I know it must be very, very different to be taught over the internet, but how has it been for you to kind of shift gears and move into this digital platform while learning?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not very good at online learning. I'm trying to word this right. I love what I do, but there is some barriers to, especially to be able to take in information that you get through a screen. Things don't register the same way, especially for me. I have really bad ADHD, and so it's hard for me to sit down and focus. And so to sit at my computer day in and day out for 9 hours a day or whatever, it takes a lot. And it was a very hard transition. At first, like we said, we didn't think it would be that long, and things hadn't really been adapted to online learning. And so we were still trying to do the things we would be doing in the studio, but I can't really do that in, my second floor apartment. So it was a hard shift, but I'm glad I've stuck with it despite it being, as difficult as it's been.
And I'm so glad that you have. Um, and there's many things coming out for you guys where you have All My Sons coming out very soon, hopefully. Um,
We already had All My Sons.
Sorry, not All My Sons. You guys just had Grim Night.
Yes.
And then you're also putting on Andy's show, correct?
Yes.
Or am I wrong in saying that? Yes. So
I'm not sure how much he talked about it, because I know he was on 2 episodes ago and I didn't get a chance to watch his. So
it's he didn't talk much about it, but it's an adaptation of his own. So he's writing it. And I'm hoping, with what he's been saying, it's another abstract piece. So I'm looking forward to that. And I cannot wait to see your ensemble do it. Because I saw you guys act over Twitch with Grim Night, and incredible, by the way, how they did that. Incredible. And I cannot wait to see what's in the future with Andy's production, because Andy's going to find a way to do something. We know
Andy was the first director I had actually worked with at Abbott when we worked on Orlando together. And I've been so excited to get to work with him again. Like, especially re-entering Terry's year, I knew that my last show was going to be with Andy. And that has brought me like nonstop joy.
I can only imagine, like, to kind of have that beginning and end with him must be so great. And like, you had Jason, and who did you have for Grim Night? Did you have Terry, right?
Jason was the director for it, but it was really more of a student-based collaboration. Like, In terms of the directing, I did most of my filming actually in what was supposed to be our tech week because we wanted to get ahead since we had a lot of stuff to film. And, it was really the students that helped, bring this together. Like all of the texts and everything, like the work that was put into that was incredible.
I honestly cannot wait. Like, yeah, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually going to shift gears now and ask you, during this entire time you've been at Abbott,
Mm-hmm.
has there been a play or like a character that you would love to play?
Oh man, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
Like, oh, mm. We saw a play done by Talisman Theater back in my first year called Clean Slate, and um, although I don't remember fully character names or anything, it was such an incredible story, and I remember seeing it at La Chapelle. And it was so good, I actually went to go see it twice with a few people in my class. We went and bought tickets for a second night. And just that show in particular, I would have really loved to have been a part of. I don't know if it'll ever be remounted, but if it is, you know,
We're hopeful.
we're hopeful. I don't know
It's
exactly anything else though. I'm trying to think of like any specific character. My mind is like empty.
it's okay. I know it's a very hard question. And honestly, I don't even know if I can answer it. But it's true. Like we kind of get all these incredible shows that we go and watch because again, they just want us to be exposed to so many different types of theater. Um, and that's the thing. I feel that even in the smallest venue or the smallest place that you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, it tends to be the best thing. We went to go see the double, and that still impacts me to this time. And like I have an entire box full of like playbills and whatnot. It's so incredible. And the amount of reading we do, my God, we do a lot of reading when it comes to professional theater. But how has third year been for you? Because I know it's all the business aspect of it. So how has that really come to effect during this time?
It's been good, surprisingly. It's a little overwhelming, especially doing everything online. And, I personally am not the best in my time management when it comes to school right now because of the online factor, honestly. But it's really interesting because third year, it's a really cool way of like seeing more practical application of the skills that you've gained over the last 2 years. And, I find myself being able to reference, some weird thing Alicia taught us in theater history years ago, or, uh, we'll talk with Zach about something and, all of a sudden we'll bring up, the levels of tension. And it's so interesting to see how all of my knowledge has related back to the culmination of my third year. And the business aspect is honestly not the most stressful part. I know there's a lot of people that tend to have trouble with, our professional management course, but for me personally, I actually really loved it. I thought it was really great to get an insight into a part of this industry that isn't really thought about when you're starting usually. Most actors probably go, yeah, the stage, the story, but we don't really think about, the financial aspect and, like what it takes to advertise a show, what it takes to, pay everyone what they're due and rent a stage and rent rehearsal space. And, after doing all of that, I imagine it's really easy for people to get discouraged because, when you see the big numbers, it's a lot. But for me, it was just like, oh, okay, now there's a number to this. It's not just a far off idea. It's with this amount of money, I could put on this show, or with this amount of money, I could put on this show and tour it. and, think about it in that way. It makes it it just makes it more realistic, more grounded in its reality.
Well, because it almost becomes less of a passion, and you become more as
Like a
more
career.
a career, yeah. And I personally loved professional management. It
Mhm.
unfortunately it is at a late time in the night, and it can get very tiring.
Not for us last semester. They changed it because everything was online anyways. They had it so that it was put into the regular day schedule.
Well, that's great,
Yeah,
right?
a little. It meant we had longer days, but I
Yeah.
personally wouldn't mind, the 6 to 9 class.
Yeah, no, it honestly, like, as much as it was tiring, it was also very beneficial. Just knowing easy things like taxes that you think, okay, well, guys, we're gonna need to pay taxes, okay, but like you can get receipts for all this, a receipt assignment, grant assignment, budget assignment. You're like, am I doing finance or am I doing acting? But then like you kind of that this is stuff that you need to do now.
Mhm.
And if you want to be a full-on artist, and want this as your professional gig, then unfortunately that's what you're going to need to do. But it's it becomes a career, and it's great that we get that at Abbott, because I know a lot of these workshops and whatnot, if you're just jumping into acting, you might never get that
Mhm.
to kind of, this is what you need to do. You're kind of gonna have to figure it out by yourself. And I'm so glad that we have Zach doing that. I don't know if Zach's still doing that.
Yeah, he
Um,
is.
but
Zach
Zach
is
is
such a
amazing.
well of knowledge. Like I wish I could literally spend hours picking his brain because it would be so interesting. Like he's so creative and talented, and like the way that his classes run like just works so well for me personally, I find. And so like I feel like I learned so much from him as a teacher.
And Zach's amazing. I've said it on here before. All the teachers, I've been shouting out
They're
everybody.
incredible in their own right,
They
fully.
are, but Zach, I mean, now he's an artistic director, and I'm not surprised. He is a man of many talents, and directing is definitely, and he's very artistic, but he's an amazing director, and I was so privileged that I could be a part of one of his shows, because the
Yeah,
man
Three
just thinks
Dogs.
differently. Yeah, he
Mhm.
just thinks differently. Like moving set and us being that set, not really something that an actor usually gets to do, but it was
Mhm.
incredible. And I'm so glad that you got the opportunity to continue that with Zach, and continue learning more about the industry now that you're about to jump and take that leap into a full-on career as an artist. So to move into, unfortunately, our last two questions, I can do this all day. I really can.
It's always
But
easy conversation with you. So
it likewise, it's great to kind of always talk to also people that you haven't talked to in a while. We were saying before that since I've graduated, we haven't really stayed that much in contact, and I'm so
yeah,
glad that we can
it's
do this over
for
Zoom now.
sure. Like especially with, school and everything like that. Like I'm still trying to finish up my last few gen eds. And so like it's it's so weird how you can be so busy in a time where we're meant to just stay home, you know? And it has me thinking, at least, like, how did I do all of this and work a job and hang out with my friends? Where did I find the time? Because I'm not finding it right now.
And that's the thing too, like you want to kind of keep yourself busy during this time too, to kind of just, continue looking forward to stuff. And you have the opportunity to always have that thing in the back of your head that, okay, in May, I have a deck, or in
Mhm.
May, I might have a couple of gen eds or whatnot. But you have that end goal.
Yeah.
Um, and
The light at the end of
it's
the tunnel now.
exactly. And hopefully, come May, I'm really praying, guys, that kind of we can all get together, because you guys already know I'm very hopeful and I'm very, very light and whatnot.
As the
But
shirt says.
as the shirt says, I'm going to keep pointing at this, guys. I love the shirt. But like, I'm missing just being around people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people are feeling that same way. But we can at least do this over the time being. Like we were talking about before, it's just the not knowing when it's gonna potentially end. But we have to cherish the time and just hopefully soon be able to kind of gather and be whole again, and not have to separate and be all isolated as
For
we've been
sure.
for the last 10 months.
It's been really weird because well, my best friend Will, he was living right by me, and so we were both isolating together because we were only seeing each other. And then he actually moved away, so now he lives over 3 hours away, and so it's back into this weird form of isolation now. And so we're all at this point of just, okay, when will it go back to normal so I won't have to worry about seeing people? Like even people that are far away, like travel won't be concerning anymore. It's it's one thing that like it's to think about it on a theater level. Yeah, it's great to go back to, seeing live shows and everything like that, but I think what's really going to be important is just for everyone to be able to just see their loved ones, you know? Because I think that's what's really going to help, you know, bring back the sense of community that's kind of lacking right now.
I can, yeah, I agree. Just not, I can only, like, I fortunately live with most of my family. Um, and I'm very grateful to have that. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't, and a lot of people kind of have lost the opportunity to do so during 2020 and now into 2021. Um, and that's why Zoom is so important, kind of trying to stay in contact with people. And like
Mhm.
we were saying before, Bell Let's Talk is happening tomorrow. Um, and I know it's very strenuous on people's mental health. Um, we're not creatures that are meant to kind of stay indoors and be locked up, to use that term, for 10 months or beyond. Um, but I'm so glad that if we want to move it back to Abbott, that we form these communities, that we form these families.
Mhm.
Um, and kind of, even though we haven't talked in so long, we just find it so easy to kind of just connect.
Yeah.
And it's great that we share this passion, but also just these open feelings, these vulnerable feelings. And we can just kind of connect even during something like Zoom and over a camera. Um, so, guys, if you guys are feeling any way, or you guys are just not very hopeful during this time, reach out, talk to someone. Doesn't have to be a therapist, doesn't have to be anything like that. Just talk to people. And it will get better. I know it doesn't seem like it at the time, but it will get better. And we just, I'm going to use a bit of a joke here, because, got to lighten up the mood. Stay hopeful. I'm going to keep pointing at the shirt. Stay hopeful, guys, and stuff is going to be coming your way very soon. Um, yeah, keep your head up high, guys. I know it's very dark right now, but as we keep on saying, the light is at the end of the tunnel. And yeah, the end of this tragedy, this end of this crazy story is coming soon. We just have to keep that in mind. It's coming soon. I know a lot of people are saying it and whatnot, but it is. We have a vaccine now. We are going to have a bit of time that we're going to have to kind of continue what we're doing, but the end is near. The end of is unfortunately near with the podcast as well. So the last two questions I'm going to get to, but before I get to that, I do have two announcements that will keep you guys hopeful, and joyous during this time. So the next episode, we're actually going to be having another guest who is from Abbott. Her name is Olivia Lepore. She's going to be joining us on episode 27 of the Little Thespian Podcast. So, guys, hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. We'll be posting stuff on Instagram, as we always do. And as you guys can see in the back of me, that is my William Shakespeare entire complete works. So our next Shakespeare sit-downs will be happening and will be posted on February 14th, just in time for Valentine's Day. We're going to be talking about Romeo and Juliet. A lot of people have the misconception that it's all about love. So we're going to be breaking that down and telling you guys that unfortunately it's not on Valentine's Day. It's going to be a great time. So my last two questions. We're just talking about the future. And I know it's very uncertain, but is there one thing that you're really looking forward to after graduation?
I have a lot of tentative plans for after graduation, but I think probably what I'm looking forward to the most, and it's not anytime soon in the future because of travel restrictions, but I would really love to go and do a conservatory in Europe. I think that, it would be a really great way to just expand my horizons and see what's out there. And not only that, I've seen some amazing work come out of Germany recently, and I'd be so interested to see what's going on there, because they seem like they're having a lot of fun.
That sounds incredible. That honestly sounds incredible. And I would love to go to Europe and study abroad. That would be right? Incredible. Like, I've never thought about that. Like, just going somewhere and being like, I'm an artist.
Yeah, I would love to go do a conservatory for 2-3 years, learn a new language. I think that would be sick. And then, expand my craft with techniques that aren't, just what we know within, Canadian Anglo theater. See what's going on in Europe, see what's going on in East Asia even. Like, I'd be very interested in seeing like Japanese theater even. So I want to be able to see the world with the new lens of a theater career in a sense.
I can honestly see that for you. And if you want more knowledge in that, I know Zach studied abroad. Mm-hmm. Zach, you pick his brain, he has so many amazing techniques that he's learned. And Alicia, I can only imagine, probably knows everything about everything that's happening in the world of theater. Yeah. But yeah, honestly, like, just studying in Germany or Italy or just out abroad, nowhere near Canada, nowhere near the United States, just something that's kind of out of the way. I can only imagine it. Yeah.
We were talking even with Alicia the other day about just how rehearsal practices are so different between, English theater and French Quebec theater, with them practicing, you do 2 weeks and then there's a break and then you go back to it and you're doing multiple projects at once. While in English theater, it typically tends to be, one span of time, one project, you finish it, then you do the next one. So I don't know, I think it would be an interesting, it'd be a new way of learning, but I think I'm up for the challenge.
I think you're up to the challenge. You seem very passionate about it. And honestly, like, keep that dream there and inspire to do it. Because I know, like, a lot of people get into that idea that, like, a dream is right there, but I'm not there yet. You know what I mean? Kind of at arm's length. But, like, think about it, and then slowly, if that's what you want to do, reach it.
Work towards it. Yeah.
And that's so inspiring. Like, guys, follow what Robyn's doing. I know I'm pointing this way, but like, you guys are probably not seeing both of us at the same time. But anyway, so let's hop into the last question. So my last question is, if you had to do a remake, a redo of one of your many shows that you've done so far, what would be a character or a role that you would love to jump into?
I think I would have to say Into the Woods, which I did at Riverdale High School back in 2016. I remember. I played the witch. And, at the time, I had actually, it's funny that it's Bell Let's Talk Day tomorrow, because I had dropped out of CEGEP in 2016 because of my mental health. It had deteriorated greatly. And while I was on that break from CEGEP, my high school had done an alumni show. And so I had went back to do Into the Woods, and needless to say, I still wasn't in the best spot. And so I don't think I did as good of a job as I could have back then. But now, with my skill set that I've learned and I've practiced over the years since 2016, which is so long ago, I think I could do it exponentially better. And I would love to get the opportunity to try, to see what a project that I loved at the time, what I could do even better now with the knowledge that I have now,
It needs to happen, guys. Whoever's doing Into the Woods, at
Give
any
me a
point,
call.
yeah,
I'm right here. I think I have my old script, we're all set.
ask for the CV, ask for the headshot, you're good,
There
right?
you go.
You're all set. So this has been incredible, Robyn, and I'm so glad to have had you on Little
Thank you
Thespian
for
Podcast.
having me.
If you want to come back at any point in time, I know it's been very inspiring, not just to me, but to everyone who's been listening. So thank you.
Well, you have my number. Just give me a call.
I got you. So let's hop into shining a light on Robyn. I do this segment at the end all the time, and this is definitely one that it's going to be hard to shine a light on Robyn because, I mean, so inspiring. They just went through so much during the time at Abbott, and I am so glad that we've had the opportunity to not just connect during this time and during my time and your time at Abbott. It has been incredible, to say the least, that we can still have this bond over the several years that you've been at Abbott and that I was at Abbott. And I cannot wait to see what your future holds. I know it's super, super bright, whether it be in Germany, whether it be anywhere abroad. And I cannot wait to see what your future holds, both at Abbott and beyond. Thank you so much, Robyn, for being on.
Thanks, Matt. That means a lot.
You're
I cannot
very
wait
welcome.
to see, what you do as well. I know weren't you supposed to be doing a show as well? Puppet?
Yeah, unfortunately, because of COVID,
Yeah.
Puppet has been canceled. But it will be happening once
One day.
COVID is over. But we need to get the venue. So mainline, if you guys are still listening, you guys know, hopefully, once everything comes back to par, we'll be back there. Yeah,
I'll be keeping an eye out for it for sure.
and I'll be keeping an eye on Abbott and beyond with you, Robyn. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
The lights are off. The curtain has fallen. And it's time to say goodbye. Thank you all for joining us on the Little Thespian Podcast. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask, either down below or on any of our platforms. On the next episode of the Little Thespian Podcast, we have someone who has been out of Abbott for a bit now, but is still shining so bright. She's an actor, singer, dancer, and all-around great human being, Olivia Lepore. I cannot wait to have Olivia on next week when we talk all things acting, theater. You can take it with you, and so much more. It's going to be a great time as we dive into John Abbott's theater department and beyond with Olivia Lepore on episode 27 of the Little Thespian Podcast. thank you all for watching this video, listening. Guys, don't forget to always shine bright. I know it's a hard time during these times, but we will get through this. We just have to have hope. And I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this. If you guys want to show some more support, don't forget to like this video, to comment your thoughts down below, and don't forget to subscribe to us here on YouTube. It helps us out tremendously, guys. Also, there's always a link down below where you can just listen to us and enjoy the amazing audio that we try to give you guys. So thank you all for watching this episode of the Little Thespian Podcast. Thank you, Robyn, for being on. It was a great time, as it always is with you. And guys, don't forget to always shine bright, end the stigma, and we'll see you all on the next Little Thespian Podcast.